Guys, well, today's video is all about the meat. M-E-A-T, meat. I'm making some homemade beef jerky. What prompted this video is I posted some pictures on my Instagram page, which is cutlerylover Jeff, if you didn't know. I showed me making a batch of this beef jerky, and people said they want to see a video. They're like, dude, make a video. And I'm like, dude, I think I did. And they're like, yo, I don't see it. So I'm like, dude, you're right, it's not there. I don't know, sometimes old videos on YouTube, they just disappear. You know what I mean? You got a video up there, year, 2 years, 3 years. YouTube's like, we don't need this crap. We got to make room for more videos because there's like a billion videos uploaded every second. So anyway, I'm not even sure if it's there. I did a quick search, couldn't find it. So I'm remaking this video. This is me making beef jerky. I've been doing this for about a year and a half. It is really easy to do. It's not complicated. Essentially, you're taking a piece of meat. It doesn't have to be beef. You can make pork jerky, the bacon jerky we talked about recently. You can do this with bacon. You can do this with, well, bacon you might want to render first because there's so much fat. But anyway, turkey jerky, fish, whatever, you name it. What's cool about making homemade jerky at home is that, number one, it's cheaper than buying it. I mean, significantly cheaper, especially if you can get a hunk of meat on sale. I got a big old hunk, about yay big. It was like a football size piece of chuck roast, and I think it was like $10, you know, $10 and change, and it was like over 2.5 pounds. So I mean, that's a hell of a lot cheaper even after everything's dried. This bag right here I think weighed, I want to say it was 13 ounces or 14 ounces, and this is not even half the meat. Okay, this is my batch because I made it super spicy. This is a honey ghost chili jerky, and the batch that we're looking at right now is being made is my wife's batch because she doesn't like anything spicy, so she did her own thing. So anyway, so here's what you do. Really, really simple. You take your meat, you slice it real thin, you cut off as much fat as you can. You can see there's some fat on this just because I got a little lazy. I didn't trim all of it off. It's not a big deal because we don't, you know, hang on to this for years on end. So it all gets eaten within a week or two. Yeah, trim your fat, slice it really thin, throw it into a Ziploc bag, and you have to marinate it. That's the biggest thing here, is you have to pump in that flavor. So as far as marinades go, a pretty good basis to start with is a little bit of brown sugar or honey or maple syrup. But you do want a little sweetness there. If you look commercially at all the beef jerkies, they pretty much all have some kind of sweetener in there with the meat. Okay, so one of those three things, whether it's maple syrup, a little bit of honey, or some brown sugar. Brown sugar is probably the most common one used for a sweetener. That's where you kind of want to start. Okay, then from there I always use a little bit of beef stock, and that's going to give me the saltiness that I need, as well as just literally have more liquid for the marinade. Okay, instead of using water or something, you might as well add more flavor, right? So beef stock gives me my saltiness. I'll use brown sugar most of the time. That'll give me my sweetness, but in this case I did a little honey with brown sugar. And like I said before, I mean, you can use maple syrup as well. So you want your stock, your sweetener, and then your flavorings. In this particular case, I went with ghost chilies. That's it. I wanted spice, a lot of spice. I did do a little squirt of sriracha in there. You don't really get a sriracha flavor, but again, it just kind of gives that chili, you know, flavor thing in the background. It did add a little bit of garlic flavor to it. It's not incredibly garlicky or anything. But the sky's the limit. You can literally flavor this stuff any way you want. But you want to make a nice wet marinade, and you want to put all those thinly sliced pieces into a bag and let that sit for a few hours. I always do overnight. All right, I'll make this like in the evening, I don't know, 6, 7 o'clock, p.m. And then the next morning I'll take it out and I'll kind of pat everything dry because you don't want it like dripping in your machine. And same thing if you do it on the oven or in the oven, you don't want it dripping everywhere. So I kind of just pat it dry, and whatever, you know, juices the meat soaked up itself, that's your flavoring. Okay, and then you're basically going to put it on a rack. If you're doing this in the oven, you want to probably have a drip pan underneath, of course, in case, you know, the juices do drip out and fall. You don't want to make a mess in your oven. But if you have a cookie rack or something like that, that works awesome. As far as your oven, you basically want to turn it down as low as it can go. I think 140 to 160 is the range you want to be in, and it's just slow and low. That's it. The dry heat is basically just pulling all the moisture out of your meat. You're drying it up. It's really that simple. This thing I got, this is a food dehydrator, a super cheap one. All this consists of, it doesn't even have a fan in it. This just has a heating coil. So there's an electric coil on the bottom, okay, that stays at like a constant, you know, like 150, somewhere around that range. And obviously the heat rises through the racks and the air gets all around the meat and it's pulling the moisture out. It's really that simple. This is a 5-rack system. The top does have something that turns here, so you can have the bigger open holes or these. This doesn't make a difference. I haven't found a difference no matter what, you know, that's set to, I guess. And it really, you have to kind of just look at it because I hand slice my meat. You could use like a mandolin or something if you want really even pieces, but you know me, I just whip out a nice sharp knife and I go to town. Some pieces are a little bit thicker than others, so you have to kind of eyeball it. But generally speaking, I don't know, anywhere from 8 to 15 hours, you know? You really just have to look at your specific meat. How thick it is will depend on how dry it gets and how fast. Not to mention your personal preference. Sometimes I make a batch of jerky and it's a little bit more moist. You know, it's not, I mean, it's still jerky, but it's not like shoe leather, you know, and sometimes I'll leave it in too long and it ends up getting a little bit too dry. So it's just personal preference. But really, really simple. Like I said, this is my wife's batch because she doesn't do spicy. So this was basically marinating in some soy sauce and some General Tso's sauce. TSO, you know. Everyone orders Chinese food and everyone orders that. And everyone says it different. And there's probably a right way and a wrong way. I'm sure you're going to go ahead and tell me the right way. But I'm going to say General Tso's? Yeah, General Big Toe. General Tso. Anyway, that's the sauce she used. And I'm sure it's going to be delicious. But mine is delicious because I had some for breakfast. So this cost me about $4 to make this. Okay, you can see in my hand here, like I said, it's at least 12 to 14 ounces. Actually, you know what? Let's grab a scale. Let's weigh it right now, right? Why not? All right, broke out the scale here. Let's see. This is 11.3 ounces. All right, well, I did eat some. So anyway, there you go. That's that. Good to have a kitchen scale. Yeah, so here's a little piece of mine. You can see good consistency. It's still pliable, but it is definitely dried beef jerky. And I'd eat a piece, but I'd be chewing it for a while and I'd be talking with my mouth full, and that would be rude to you guys. So I'm not gonna do that. So anyway, it is that simple. You're just trying out a piece of meat. Okay, so cut really thin, marinate overnight, whatever flavors you think are going to be delicious. But you do generally want a little sweetness, and you do generally want a little saltiness in there. That's basically the minimums you could do. Other than that, you can flavor it anything you want. As far as an exact recipe, I don't have one because every time I do it, I just do things by eye, and I'm always changing stuff. It's whatever I happen to have in the house. So I don't think I've ever made a batch of beef jerky exactly the same as the previous time. I'll use hot sauces, I'll use different peppers. You know, it's just whatever I have around. And it usually comes out good. I think out of the maybe 50 batches of jerky I've ever made in my life, maybe 1 or 2 came out funky. You know, I think, I'll tell you this, I think one time I did pineapple juice with something and tried to do kind of a Hawaiian dealio, and that did not work out, the pineapple juice. So maybe stay away from that. But other than that, you know, like I said, whatever you think sounds good. I mean, if I were you, I would just go online and look up some recipes. I don't happen to do that. I just wing it, and usually works out for me. But anyway, that is how I make beef jerky at home. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, you could do this in the oven, low and slow. You can make this as professional as you want. You can get a $1,000 food dehydrator or beef jerky maker or whatever. You don't need any of that crap. Just a real simple, cheap food dehydrator like this. Works wonders just because I have multiple racks. If I did it in the oven, I don't know, it's just a little bit harder because I have to take a cookie sheet and I can't hold as much. So anyway, that's that. But it comes out damn good. And for me, it's a big bonus because I can make it super hot, hotter than anything you can find in a store, which is nice. And it's a lot cheaper, and saving money is good for everybody, right? So there you go. That's beef jerky. If you happen to have your own specific marinade for a beef jerky recipe, please post it in the comments. I'll definitely try it in the future. But you know, in dieting and changing my lifestyle with, you know, eating less and all this stuff, occasionally, I don't really snack much anymore. But when I do want to snack, this is the way to go for me. Not everyone's the same, but beef jerky is a great way for me to snack with very few calories. Because I can have, like, literally, you know, maybe 2 or 3 times this, you know, which is about an ounce, which is roughly 100 calories, whatever, and I'm good to go. That's fine. Give me that and a big glass of water. That's a perfect snack for me. So, anyway, just my 2 cents on the subject. I'm sure there's people who do this more professionally that have better tips, and I would suggest watching their videos as well. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I will see you soon.